It is the evening time. I'm watching the fights right now. Diego Lopez is hopefully about to beat Brian Ortega. Let's find out. I'm in the process of editing a bunch of videos for this week, and I was working on this one. I had to stop because it wasn't really good. I thought I would remake it, bring up some additional information that I think would be ultimately be more beneficial for you guys watching, and hopefully also be a little bit less controversial. So the topic of this video is film cameras you should not buy. It's going to be kind of more broad strokes. I've made a few videos on this channel where like cameras I think you should buy, where you should buy them, and all sorts of those. So if you're looking for more constructive information, I would check those out. This is more like, in my mind, from a repair component, some red flags that you should be on the lookout for. Also coming at it from the perspective as somebody who's bought and sold, traded, ended up with couple hundred film cameras. These are film cameras and just general things I think you should be aware of going into the film camera buying process. So first and foremost, before we even jump into it, the most important thing you can do is research. Bar none. Research. Look into what it is you're trying to get. Look into why it is you're trying to get that thing. Is it because it's 35mm SLR? Is it because it's a medium format system? Is it because it's a rangefinder? What are you looking for? What skill level are you at? What is your experience with film photography in general? What is the use case? Are you going to be doing studio work, street photography, travel stuff? Is it just going to be for parties, family get-togethers, whatever? These are all questions that are going to be unique to you, the consumer. That's why I kind of have to paint in broad strokes, because I can't say that one camera is going to be perfect for someone and it's not going to work at all for the next person. So I'm going to be a little bit vague, but I do have a few things I want to touch on. For starters, cameras to avoid: Craigslist cameras. Just don't. Dude, like, I bought a few cameras off Craigslist in my time, and yes, every now and again there can be a winner on there, and yes, every now and again there could be an estate sale advertisement, and that's fantastic. I don't know, man. I think that the effort going into it greatly outweighs the reward that you would get. As I like to say, the juice is simply not worth the squeeze. I think there's better alternatives if you want to do like the local pickup thing. Facebook Marketplace is much more reputable. There's a lot less feed pictures for sale on Facebook Marketplace, I think. I don't really shop on there, but it's less sketchy in a lot of ways. There's also OfferUp. That's a good local kind of pickup option. If you want to like get a camera, a specific camera, I think eBay, KEH, those are going to be the places that I would recommend. And again, I have a separate video on that, but don't get Craigslist cameras. It's just, I don't really think it's worth it. And also the ones that are out there, I looked earlier today and they are expensive and a scam. So other cameras that I think might be a little bit overstated at this stage, grain of salt on this, there are a lot of Soviet cameras. It's great. If you don't know the story, in the like post-World War II era, Soviets invaded a lot of Germany and then took over factories and started replicating camera systems, so on and so forth. Those like initial Soviet cameras, there's in lenses and stuff, there's some claim to be said that they're essentially just the name brand, but with a different brand on it, whatever. And that's awesome. Listen, that's great. Okay. The problem is that those were very popular a few years ago because the other ones were more expensive. But now, because of the popularity, the price has gone up on the Soviet cameras. Soviet cameras have never really been renowned for their quality, though. And that's not me being an asshole. That is just the fact of the matter. If you have a Kiev 60, and I know this because I did it in a video and I get comments to this day, but if you have this and you try to adjust the shutter speeds without advancing at first, you could destroy the camera. I have, like I said, 300 cameras. That is the only one. Well, and then the Fed 5C, which is another Soviet camera. Those are the only cameras I have. You have to advance it before you can change the shutter speeds. There's quirks, okay, and they're lovable for that, by all means. I do think that the prices on them are a little bit higher than what they kind of should be. They're not as bad as they were, I think, like a year or two ago. They definitely seem to be inflated a lot more. They're like in the Bronica range right now. Bronicas, depending on what you're looking for medium format. You can get one for like $300, I think. And then there's like the Kiev 88, I think, which is like the knockoff Hasselblad. Those are also about $300. I would go with the Bronica personally, just because I think, one, more people will actually want to work on them if it comes due. Two, they probably have been worked on at some point, whereas I don't think the Soviet cameras have. And Soviet cameras, I think it's one of those things where they work until they just immediately implode. And I know this because I have a Kiev 88 that's sitting in a box because it had imploded. Not everyone's situation with that's going to be the same. Not everyone's experience with it's going to be the same, but that's just my recommendation unto you. While we're kind of in the medium format range, Mamiya RB67. Fantastic camera. Mamiya RZ67. Great camera, I'm sure. Never shot with one. But I do know that there are very few people that want to work on them because of electrical issues that are very hard to address, parts increasingly rare, and it's going to be very expensive. I think that the RB67 is more affordable than the RZ. Just get the RB. And then also you don't have to worry about the inevitable failure of the system. While we're talking about electrical failures in medium format cameras, the Fuji GA645s, I think that's a really fantastic idea. I wish that there was like a point and shoot medium format camera out there that was reliable, but this is not it. There's a flex cable that leads into the like shutter system, and that will tear and that will break because the lens moves inward and outward. It's an old system, blah, blah, blah. Yes, there are people that can fix it. Yes, there might be parts for it. It's very confusing, but if you try to find parts for it, there's a few different options. None of them look like the part that you actually need, but they might work. I'm not quite sure. I didn't really want to get into it because they're not cheap parts, and also the labor getting into them, it's not great. So if you want one, just know that that's going to be a risk, and I'm not really sure what the repairability of that is, but I do know it's going to be very expensive, and I think it's kind of a specialty shop sort of situation. Speaking of the Contax G1, Contax G2, Contax T2, the Leica Mini Lux, what's another like really poppy, Yashica T4, all of the like really high-end electrical point and shoots, they're expensive. Okay, they're expensive to begin with, and there is a phantom expiration date on their usability. I don't know what that is. You don't know what that is. Like, unless you've used the system from the beginning and you know every single exposure that was taken with that camera, or if you just kept it in a box up to this point. But even then, it's like a butterfly flaps its wings and a Contax T2 dies. They're very expensive cameras. I don't know off the top of my head, but I want to say like in the $900 to $1,000 range. I'll put some prices up here, but basically that's how much they cost. That's also about how much it costs to fix them. I think I talked to somebody the other day who got one for free, and from like his neighbor. Didn't work. He sent it out to Nippon, which is I think the only shop that will do it, and it cost him like $700 or $800 to get it fixed. Now, if you're getting it for free, then you're only putting $700 to $800 in it. Fantastic. If you're already spending whatever the prices are here, and then you have to spend another $700 to $800 on it, I just think that there's better options out there. Get a Pentax PC35AF. It's a really compact, reliable point and shoot system. Moving on to other point and shoots that you should probably avoid getting. Olympus point and shoots. I love them. You love them. They're super small, super compact, but Lord Almighty, they have a lot of plastic in them. And those plastic gears will fail. Getting replacements is going to be difficult because, again, when you're taking parts from parts cameras, that's cool and all, but how long are those parts going to last? That's something I always kind of think about, and something that you might want to bear in mind. Now, if you get one for like $5, $10, $15, $50 even, like anything sub 100 or in that $100 range, great. Just don't go buying an Olympus stylus for $300 because it's hard to say. Some of them have been serviced, that's true. I just don't know viability of that long term. Those are kind of like the mechanical things that you should be on the lookout for. More the price things that I would like recommend. Canon AE-1s, I think, are great cameras. I really do. I like them. kind of. I recommend them to people if they want to get into it, but I also prefer the Canon A1. I've talked about this a few times, but I think it's just a much better system. It's much more affordable long term, uses the same mount. You can also put a little grip on it, which is cool. It's a little bit less popular, so it hasn't seen like the wide price discrepancies as the AE1, because you got to think of like photography teachers are like, oh, get an AE1, get a K1000, all this stuff. So the prices inflate from there. But the A1 is a really, really good camera and incredibly underrated, and you can get them for next to nothing. Most, if not all, technicians know how to service them too. So that's another thing to be grateful for. The K1000. A camera I also adore and I love dearly. They're very expensive too, unfortunately. Alternatives would be Spotmatics. It's essentially the same thing, just different lens mount. KMs, those are also kind of expensive, but KMs are a K1000 with a self-timer and a stop-down lever. I think they're great as well. But yeah, I think that's about it, really. There's a few, like I said, major ones that were just on the top of my head, not as like a me preference thing. This is just more of a general advice situation. But if you have any other advice that I'm missing, feel free to leave that in the comments down below. If you have any questions about cameras that you're thinking about getting, shoot those in the comments down below. I'll try to get back to you and see like if there's anything you should be on the lookout for. Research, that's like the biggest thing. Look into what it is you're getting. Why do you want to get that? Maybe there's better options out there. In terms of, anyway, that's all. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, again, leave them down below. Like the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel as well. Check out some of my other videos. Remember, check out the Consumer Corner. Got all sorts of different advice and stuff like that to go over. Thank you again. Catch you on the next one.